with Yitzias Mitzrayim. On the other hand, and that's also the idea of the seventh generation, the Yichus of Avraham Avinu, 7 has to do with Shabbos. Shabbos is Havaya, higher than Seder Shtalshlos. But on the other hand, we said that the power of Moshe Rabbeinu was really subservient to and subsidiary to the ideas of the Avos. And we're trying to resolve the two concepts together. How do they both fit? And we even explained, in a certain degree, it's going to relate to what the Rebbe said at the end, that the Avos' birthday was in the month of Nisan. The month of Nisan is the Chodesh HaGeula, which means that the fact that the Avos were born then, that's an even greater idea than Moshe Rabbeinu reaching the level of 80 years old. And we said it's like the milah of birth over the day of passing. The day of passing has the milah of being a complete and total type of completion of the person's avodah, as opposed to the day of the birth. That's the potential, and that's koilol, and that is the above limitations of the body type of energy that shines on his birthday, that gives him the power for the rest of his life. And that's why the birthday of the Avos, which is Nisan, is the same month of the Geula. So now the Rebbe is going to connect the two. So which is greater? Is it Moshe, Shmoinim, Dor Hashvi, Kol Shvi Chavivin, or is it the Avos, because they are Rishonim, like the Rebbe brought from Rashi, the first, the beginning, the start of it all, etc. So again, page 8, Ois Zayin, line 10, page Yud Beis. The idea behind this is, Shashneim Emes, both are true. Shebeshvila in the Yitzias Mitzrayim, for the sake of going out of Mitzrayim, Yesh Tzoydach, B'Nesinas Koyach. There's a need for an empowerment, Madregas Ha'avos Harishonim, like we were Medayik and Rashi, that it has to be the first, the early Avos. Rishonim means Kifi Shem B'Shar Shem B'Chinas HaKeser, the way they're in the root and the level of Keser. As we mentioned yesterday, Avos themselves, the level of Chesed, Gvura Teferes, Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. But the Midas have a Shoresh and Keser, that's the level of Rishon, and Rishonim goes on the level the way it's in Keser. This root of the Avos in Keser came down the month of Nisan, that was the day that the Avos were born. That was the month, that the Avos were born. Along with this power that transcends everything, has to also be the avoid in actuality as a result, and doing with the body, the way it comes down into details, that this is manifest in the idea of Moshe. This is the power of Moshe being 80 years, the seventh generation. That indicates the way it's already down here in this world and all the details of this world. By him, by Moshe Rabbeinu, was the revelation of Shem Yud Vavke. It's beyond the world. Ubi Yosef ben Shmoinim Shana, and this was when he was 80 years old. Then he reached the level of Bina. It's beyond the 7 days of creation. Like we said, 80 is the 8th level, starting from below above. That's higher than the level of the Avos, because the Avos is the midas that have to do with the world. And he was 80 higher the level of Bina. But that's not enough just to have the level that's in the world, but the level that's in the world has to be connected with transcending the world. This avoid itself has to be permeated with the level of the essence that's beyond the vision, beyond all types of details. So that's why you need to have him to be the 7th to the 1st. He has to remember the Avos. He needs to be the level of B'mokim Gedolim Al Tamid, because you need to have the combination of both things together. We can connect this with the yahrzeit of the Alter Rebbe on the 24th of Tevis. That it comes out, it falls out on the calendar many years. Chavdal Tevis comes out on Parshas Ve'era. In addition to all the specific matters of the Alter Rebbe's service, B'tar Neshama Klal is as a general Neshama that includes the Neshamas of his generation or of Klal Yisrael, Neshama Chadasha, and especially his Avodah as being a new Neshama that came down, which is a rarity that these days we have new Neshamas. Vayodi Hischil Gilui Vafatzes Teres Chabad v'chulu, that through the Alter Rebbe began the revelation and the spreading of Chassidus Chabad. So that is all the details of the Alter Rebbe's Avodah. Like we said, the Moshe Rabbeinu was about bringing down the Hamshacha into the details. The Alter Rebbe also possessed something that was even higher than that, that's beyond the vision into details, similar to the Avos Harishonim, the level of Keser, the way the Midas are rooted in Keser, beyond all the details. Like the day of the birth is the general Hamshacha before all the details. And where do we see this by the Alter Rebbe? This is what it says, that this is what he had by him. The idea of who is to me in the heavens. And with you I do not desire in the land. In other words, in the earth, he did not want anything, any details. Like it was heard, the expression of the Alter Rebbe, when he was a state of dveikus and cleaving to Hashem, ich will gar nicht, I don't want anything. Ich will nicht ein Gan Eden, I don't want your Gan Eden. Ich will nicht ein Olam Haba, I don't want your Olam Haba. Top of page Yud Gimel. Ich will mir nicht as dich allein. All I want is only you alone. This type of devotion and connection with Hashem is beyond the vision into details. It's higher than even at the highest level of love, the love of a delight, because even the love of a delight, there's still someone that is experiencing the love, so there is still an entity over here. As opposed to, I don't want anything, I just want you yourself. It's not about the Alter Rebbe's wanting, it's about the Alter Rebbe completely becoming subsumed and consumed in Hashem. This is similar to the idea of the Avos Harishonim, meaning the level that was completely removed from everything else. Additional to this, in the teachings of Chassidus Chabad is emphasized the need for the avodah specifically in a person being responsible for his own spiritual achievements. Like it's known the difference between Chassidus Chabad and other Chassidus, enormous Chassidus of Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, that they rely on the Rebbe to accomplish for them all the spiritual levels. So what's the idea of emphasizing our own personal avodah? So he says in line 8, this is similar to what we said previously in Ois Vav and Zayin. In addition to the advantage of the month of Nisan, that's a result of the birth of the forefathers, which shows on, an out of this world, be transcendent experience that doesn't have to do with the world, but that's not enough. The Alter Rebbe taught us, the Chassidus Chabad taught us, it has to be part of us, meaning our avodah. Tzrich aliyah gam avodah poil. That also has to be the avodah in actuality, idea through our toil, throughout the years of the days of our years, is either 70 years, and if with strength 80 years, etc. So in other words, we need to have that type of going into details, which is the rest of the life after the birthday. Oistes, all of this idea of the bridge and the connection between Avraham and Moshe, between the Avos HaRishonim, hired in Seder Shtalshus, and coming into the world, into the body, into the details, is Negea not just then, but in the daily Yetzias Mitzrayim. Chazal say, every single generation of and every single day, a person needs to envision themselves as if today they went out of Mitzrayim. What is the going on in Mitzrayim at present? This is accomplished during the saying of Kriya Shema. The idea of Kriya Shema is self-sacrifice in a way that's beyond boundaries. Beyond boundaries is the idea of Yetzias Mitzrayim, leaving boundaries, even the Meitzorim, the boundaries of Kedusha. It's not sufficient just by Kriya Shema, we're out of this world, and then the rest of the day we're just trapped in the foolishness of this world. No, the Kriya Shema has to permeate our day. And that's why we actually read it two different occasions. Kriya Shema Shvaboiker B'chol Hayom. The Kriya Shema that we read in the morning has to inform and permeate and impact and influence the rest of the daytime hours. The Kriya Shema Shva'erev B'chol Halayla. The Kriya Shema that we read at night has to impact and influence the entire night and permeate the entire night. Therefore, even if the order of his avodah is not like Reb Shimon ben Yochai said, that a person should not worry about parnasa, he should sit and learn all day because or else Torah matei, but rather he follows the shit of Rabbi Shmuel. That Rabbi Shmuel says that, like we say in Krish, that you have to collect your grain. You need to go to work. You should act in the way of the world, meaning not just learning, but you should also have time set aside to making a living. Like the words of the Gemara, also be Adam. Many people followed Rabbi Shmuel's instruction that in addition to studying Torah, one also needs to make a living, work for a living, as opposed to Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, that many try to follow Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai's teaching of just learning all day without a worry about parnasa. Will also be on them? They were not successful. Why were those that were following Rabbi Shmuel successful? This is because we do not rely on the miracle, and therefore, for parnasa, we need to make sure that we work. So, getting back, this is in a way parenthetical. So you have a person, the Rebbe says, that acts in the way of Rabbi Shmuel. How does the Kriya Shema affect the rest of his day? So, not only does the Kriya Shema and the Yetzias Mitzrayim influence him, that he makes sure to set aside times for Torah study. He doesn't just say, well, I need to work. There's no time for anything else. The way how he studies Torah is in a way that is beyond the boundaries. He doesn't look at the clock and say, I have an hour that I'm supposed to learn Torah. Fine. When the hour is up, that's it. It's over. I remember that I have a lot of times mentioning this idea about not looking at the clock and not checking when the time is up when I fulfilled my obligation. Like we derive, top page Yudalit, from the manner of the study of Rabbi Shmuel Ba'atzmai, that even though that he said that you have to be involved in making a living, but he didn't limit his time of Torah study and said, this is it. I set aside this amount of time and that's it. How is this accomplished? that the Kriya Shema and the Yetzias Mitzrayim of the morning should impact his day, that his Torah learning during the day should be without limitations. That's through the Moshe and every single person, that Moshe Rabbeinu had this capability of bringing the great things of the Avos into the world. So the Moshe within each and every one of us could do this as well and help us do this as well. The internal Moshe speaks with the internal Pari that's with each and every one, and he influences him like the external Moshe's job was to influence Pari. Until the enslavement that we have to our inner Pari becomes nullified, and we leave the exile to the redemption. It says